here we go. At the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ay, on a roll, here we go, here we go.
What's up guys, I'm Josh Mosman, and behind me here we have 7 450 dirt bikes, and in this video we're going to compare them head to head, explaining the pros and cons of each model, and at the end we're going to declare a winner. Welcome to Motocross Action's 2023 450 Shootout. Since the brand new 2023 Yamaha YZ450F came months after we started testing all of the other bikes, MXA, we had already logged a lot of race time on the Honda, KTM, Kawi, Husky, Suzuki, and GasGas 450s. So we held up the release of our MXA 450 Shootout to allow our test riders to put comparable saddle time on the new Yamaha YZ450. It should be noted that supply chain issues for the first year models made it difficult getting new parts and plastics for these bikes. To the best of our ability, we rebuilt every one of our 450s back to like new condition. We also re-dynoed all 7 bikes on the same day to ensure comparable numbers, and for the final step, just before filming this video, we installed new Pirelli Scorpion MX32 mid-soft tires. We also put on ODI's Podium Flight handlebars with ODI's brand new MIG 2.0 lock-on grips. We also used DID's ERT3 gold chains, super light sprockets, and DecalWorks graphics on all 7 bikes. Before we dig into it, I have to explain that our testing process to come up with the 450 Shootout results is not a one-day affair. We live with these bikes year-round and use test riders that we trust in varying skill levels and age groups to determine our ranking. I also want to let you know that we have an even more detailed Shootout article with dyno charts and more coming in the May issue of Motocross Action Magazine. If you aren't subscribed already, it's a no-brainer. For $24.99, you get a 1-year subscription to Motocross Action, and as a thank you for signing up, Rocky Mountain ATV MC will send you a $25 e-gift card to shop with online. First up, the 2023 Husqvarna FC450. Literally every part of the FC450 was changed for 2023. It is a given that KTM and Husqvarna shared the majority of their 2023 updates, but Husqvarna is the only manufacturer to shorten its suspension settings in an effort to bring the seat height of its chassis down. The FC450 is the most expensive bike in the class at $10,999. Its new engine hits the second highest peak number with 59.3 horsepower at 9,600 RPM, 36.8 pound-feet of torque at 7,800 RPM, and it gained weight 229 pounds on the scale. The FC450 power band is almost perfect for the average racer because it combines manageable low to mid power with strong mid to top acceleration. It allows the rider to roll on the throttle sooner at corner entrance and keep it on through the corner exit. The Husky FC450 is pleasant to ride. And pleasant, it doesn't mean slow. More accurately, it means controllable. The FC450 handles exceptionally well, doing some magical things on the track. It carves through deep ruts with ease and glides over braking bumps thanks to its lower center of gravity. You can feel Husqvarna's improvements in lean angle traction and rear wheel connectivity. Best of all, the majority of our riders can touch the ground thanks to the 1-inch shorter seat height. Next up, the 2023 GasGas MC450F. The GasGas may have been built in the same factory as KTM and Husqvarna, but it is night and day different. While KTM and Husky went all new in 23, GasGas stuck with the same exact bike they've had since KTM started platform sharing parts back in 2021. It's actually a genius idea because KTM owners have an option for 23 to go all new or to go tried and true. The MC450F retails for $10,199. It hits 57 horsepower at 9,400 RPM, 36.7 pound-feet of torque at 7,600 RPM, and it's the lightest 450 in the class at 222 pounds. By sticking with the old frame, old engine, old suspension, and old philosophies, the 23 GasGas 450 avoided all of the teething issues that come with the first-year models, which on the 23 KTM and Husky were long break-in times, needle bearings that walked out of the shock's linkage, hydro-stop forks that stopped before they got full travel, 5 extra pounds, and frame rigidity that only AMA Supercross heroes could love. By comparison, the GasGas MC450F seems to have been custom designed for regular folk. You know, the kind of local racers who pay full pop for their bike and don't want rigid frames, stiff suspension, or 10-hour break-in times. The 2023 Kawasaki KX450. Kawasaki stuck to their guns and didn't make any updates to the 23 KX450. This bike retails for $9,599. It's the second slowest bike in the class, hitting 56.3 horsepower at 9,600 RPM, 35.4 pound-feet of torque at 6,800 RPM, plus it weighs 234 pounds. The KX450 is a solid, workman-like package with very few extras attached to it. It's not the most powerful 450, but it delivers a nice, pleasant, brisk, non-confrontational style of power that produces a reasonable spread of power that jumps from the low end to the mid-range to the top end with little or no hesitation. As for handling, once you stop the forks from blowing through their mid-stroke, the KX450 is a sweet turning machine. Additionally, at 234 pounds, the KX450 can be grouped together in the same weight class as the Honda and Yamaha. Next, the 2023 Yamaha YZ450F. Yamaha completely flipped the script for 2023. The only parts they didn't change are the wheels, forks, handlebars, and brakes. This first-year model doesn't feel much like a Yamaha. It has a handling package that is focused on corner entrance, and it has an engine that makes its peak horsepower at a very high RPM. This new bike retails for $9,899. It hits 58.9 horsepower at 9,800 RPM, 35.3 foot-pounds of torque at 7,300 RPM, and it also dropped 5 pounds on the scale to weigh in at 233 pounds. We'll just say it. This is the best YZ450F to come down the pike in the last 12 years. A giant portion of the accolades should go to the Yamaha engineers for their willingness to address the human element of what was wrong with previous YZ450Fs. Last year, the Yamaha 450 was too heavy, too wide, too tall, too bulky in the midsection, and too loud, especially from the gas tank mounted intake. Now, the 2023 YZ450F is slimmer, sleeker, lighter, and quieter. Best of all, it is now much improved at corner entrance when leaned over in a rut where front tire accuracy is at the utmost importance. We love the throttle to rear wheel connectivity. The engine's power curve is linear and it puts every ounce of internal combustion energy into the rear wheel. We also like the tunability of the Wi-Fi connecting Yamaha Power Tuner app that allows us to adjust the power from our cell phones. And of course, the Kawasaki SSS suspension is class leading. Next up, the 2023 KTM 450 SXF. For 23, the KTM 450 got a totally new engine, tightly wrapped in an all-new frame with redesigned bodywork, improved WP air forks, hand-tunable clickers on both the forks and shock. The KTM 450, it retails for $10,899, and the new engine made this bike the fastest in the class at 59.9 horsepower at 9,400 RPM with 36.5 pound-feet of torque at 7,200 RPM. As for weight, KTM jumped up from 223 to 229 pounds on the scales. KTM delivers the broadest range of power and the most peak horsepower in the class at a well-placed 9,400 RPM. It's lighter than any of the Japanese-built 450s, and it is blessed with the strongest brakes, a bulletproof clutch, the best shifting in class, optional quick-turn throttle cams, and the easiest-to-use air filter ever designed. Plus, the new electronics come with 2 maps, launch control, traction control, and the ability to engage quick shift, where the ECU cuts to allow smooth shifting like they have on high-end road race bikes. Apart from the break-in issues, we were mightily impressed with the way the 23 KTM 450 felt in motion. The added 5 pounds is noticeable at the front wheel, but it isn't a deal breaker because the KTM is still lighter than the Suzuki, Yamaha, Honda, and Kawasaki. Plus, the ergonomic width of the tank, shroud, and side panels make it easier to grip this bike with your knees. Next, the 2023 Suzuki RMZ450. Even though the Suzuki is the most affordable bike in the class at $8,999, it's also the slowest bike, hitting 54.8 horsepower at 8,800 RPM and 35.1 pound-feet of torque at 7,700 RPM. Another dinger, it's the heaviest 450 in the class at 241 pounds. In truth, you can't win a shootout with a bike that hasn't been changed since 2018, especially when it wasn't winning 450 shootouts back then. Still, we can find positives with this bike. We like the pleasant low to mid-range power band. It makes the least peak horsepower out of all 7 of the bikes, but it's only 1.5 horses less than the Kawasaki KX450, and it has the same torque numbers as the Yamaha. However, we wish that back in 2018, when the RMZ was last renovated, that Suzuki had kept the old frame and spent all of their R&D money on a new engine. They'd be way ahead of where they are now if they had taken that route. Next up, the 2023 Honda CRF450. The Honda 450 engine is beautiful. Honda made the intake port shape narrower and smaller. They revised the cam's profile, the air boot was lengthened, and the key and throttle body's diameter was reduced from 46 to 44 mil. Downsizing that throttle body brought the CRF450 in line with the other 44 mil throttle bodies that come on all 6 of the other 450s. They also made 2 frame mods for this year as well. The forged bridge strut that connects the frame's down tube to the extruded rectangular tubes on the frame's cradle. It was made 2 mil thicker, plus the shock tower forging where it connects to the top of the shock shock is also 2 mil thicker. However, our test rider didn't feel any change to the overall stiffness with these two frame mods. With these updates, the CRF450 retails for $9,999. It hits a peak of 56.3 horsepower at 9,100 RPM and 37.3 pound-feet of torque at 7,000 RPM. The CRF450 also weighs 233 pounds. The Honda is good, but not because of its frame, suspension, or handling. Every test rider who raced the 2023 Honda CRF450 raved about how easy the power was to use. At low RPM, the throttle worked like a charm. Rider could dial in exactly how much power he wanted. Ergonomically, the layout of the seat, bars, pegs, and width is class leading. However, the shift lever is a little short. So that's the highlights of all 7 of our 450 4-strokes in our 450 shootout video. Now let's get into the ranking of each bike, where we rank them from 7th to 1st, where we are for sure going to ruffle some feathers. Starting off with 7th place is the Suzuki RMZ450. Unfortunately, the RMZ450 chassis is out of balance. The stink bug layout creates oversteer, the frame is too stiff, too tall, and too steep. The road race inspired Showa BFRC rear shock moves too freely, too quickly, and it can't stay in contact with the ground. Sadly, all Suzuki had to do was spec the non-BFRC RMZ250 shock on their 450 chassis, because the 250 shock is so oversprung that it would actually work better on the 450 anyways. No one is deluded into believing the 23 Suzuki is the best race bike on the track, but it offers a rideable, raceable, and enjoyable bike for someone who wants to get in on the motocross experience without having to file for bankruptcy. As it sits, it is the best bargain in motocross, but it's less of a bargain once you spend money to upgrade it. However, we are hoping that Ken Roczen's presence on Yellow sparks Team Suzuki to make updated bikes here soon. Coming in 6th place, the Honda CRF450. In spite of its awesome power band, the CRF450 is twitchy, unpredictable, and often a scary machine to ride fast. We always consider the CRF450 to be an 80% bike, and that it's polite and manageable if you only push it to 80% of its potential or 80% of yours. Exceed that margin at your own risk. The 23 CRF450's best handling trait is at turn-in. Every MX8 test rider was dumbstruck by how effortlessly the 23 CRF450 attacked inside lines. However, the counterpoint to Honda's incredible turn-in is that it felt very loose on the corner exit. We recommend the 23.5 offset ride engineering triple clamps to find a little more stability going down the straightaways. The MXA Wrecking Crew has a long-standing issues with some aspects of the 23 Honda CRF450 setup that every Honda owner will recognize in the handling and suspension departments. However, we truly believe that this is a better CRF450 than the last 3 model years. We love the all-new power profile, the flawless ergonomics, but, and this is a big but, the new engine proved that they need a new frame. Coming in 5th place, the GasGas MC450F. The GasGas 450 has softer suspension with lighter valving, and it's not as crisp or responsive as the KTM 450. To ensure that it's mellow down low, GasGas closed off the airbox to keep the engine from breathing clearly. They built an exhaust system without a resonance chamber, and they limit the rider to only be able to use the mellow map, even though the ECU has KTM's aggressive map, traction control, launch control all locked away into it. But to access those KTM goods, you have to buy a $170 KTM map switch. In the end, all of the budget cutting the GasGas went through to meet the $9,500 price point of the Japanese competition could not be made maintained. For the 2023, the price went up to $10,199, and none of the bells and whistles were added to sweeten the deal. And that is why the GasGas MC450 finished 5th when it could have been in the top 3. The GasGas MC450F is the favorite bike of a vast majority of the MXA endurance test riders who are assigned to race our bikes every week, but these guys are largely novice and vet riders. Coming in 4th place, the Kawasaki KX450. Our complaints with this bike are that the throttle response at low RPM is jerky, the KX450 engine isn't very powerful, the 49mm Showa forks are too soft and they bottom hard and bounce off the ground on rebound. We also don't like that Kawasaki's engineers spec'd a jumbo-sized 250mm rear brake rotor on the KX450 because it lacks modulation. It's too grabby and it makes it hard to be smooth in the turns. Surprisingly, Kawasaki's engineers put a smaller 240mm rear brake rotor on the KX250 and the KX450X cross-country bike, which makes it that much more frustrating they didn't put it on their premier KX450 model. Also, the KX450 is at the low end of the motorcycle's electronics movement. Instead of push-button maps, they have old-school plug-in couplers, no Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth, and no easy-to-use buttons on the bars. Overall, the 2023 Kawasaki KX450 is a nice, pleasant, and fun race bike, but it's not the best 450 motocross bike of 2023. If Kawasaki really wanted the KX450 to be the best bike of the year, they would have spec'd what they learned from their $12,650 KX450 SR. It needs better forks, advanced electronics, improved durability, a stronger chain roller, better plastic, and more actual horsepower for 2024. Coming in 3rd place is the Husqvarna FC450. The 2023 FC450 is not built for pro speed riders. It's overshadowed by its orange stablemate for this group, both in suspension setup and throttle response. The KTM suspension rides higher with a firmer feel as it compresses. Next, we don't like the idea of fudging performance by starving the engine for air. However, the muted Husqvarna actually produced a much better vet style of power from low to mid. Fast riders want more airflow, stiffer suspension, and a harder hit. The Husky FC450 offers smoother suspension, a more manageable throttle response, and a lowered chassis that rails corners and glides through ruts. Overall, the Husky is the perfect vet bike. It has incredibly manageable power band, there's no burst and wheelie syndrome, it simply pulls and the more you roll on the throttle, the faster it goes. Husqvarna should own the vet market because they have the best bike for riders looking for a bike that they can touch the ground on. It offers incredible handling and has a power band that is supremely manageable. It is unique in that it also offers characteristics that no one else provides. Coming in 2nd place, the KTM 450 SXF. The WP Exact air forks are controversial, and some riders like their adjustability and 3-pound weight savings, while others prefer the 3-pound heavier coil spring forks for their plusher feel. The most common complaint is that the new frame is too rigid. The added rigidity was a nod to pro riders, but it ruined life for the first 10 hours of break-in time for vets and novices. It is a sad fact that motocross bikes keep getting taller, and that is especially true for the 2023 KTM 450. It's skyscraper tall. If you don't have long legs, your boots are not going to touch the ground. Overall, apart from break-in issues, we were impressed with the way the 2023 KTM felt in motion. The added 5 pounds is noticeable at the front wheel, but it isn't a deal breaker because the KTM is still lighter than the Suzuki, Yamaha, Honda, and Kawasaki. The ergonomic width of the tank, the shroud, and the side panels makes it easier to grip onto the bike with your knees. The airbox is larger and the foot pegs have more grip. The power band is almost perfect from idle to over rev. And that means coming in 1st place is the 2023 Yamaha YZ450F. Yes, this bike did win, but we still have some complaints with it. The charm of its amazing connectivity between the throttle and the rear wheel results in a sudden burst of uncontrolled power that delivers lots of unintentional wheelies. Plus, the Yamaha is twitchy at speed and suffers from head shake in the rough sections. We also noticed that the new clutch needed constant cable adjustment as it got hot. The new YZ450F isn't a lot faster than last year, nor is it the most powerful bike on the track, but it does a much better job of putting that power to the ground. The extra 500 RPM allows you to pull each gear longer and shift less, which is one thing our test riders really appreciated late in the race when they started to fatigue. The YZ450F is also noticeably lighter than before. 5 pounds is a lot, but the new frame and engine work together with the weight loss to make the new bike much easier to maneuver. Overall, the 2023 YZ450F wins the 2023 MXA 450 Shootout because it is a marvel of innovation, engineering, frame geometry, and power management. But most of all, we appreciate the human factor engineering that went into the design to make sure that the end user's previous complaints from the last 12 years of Yamaha 450s were finally addressed. As mentioned, be sure to subscribe to Motocross Action Magazine and stay tuned for our full 450 Shootout article. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel to see more videos, including our individual bike test videos, where we talk in depth about the pros and cons of each model. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next video.